There's unrest in the streets of Cuba, and it came out because, okay, we know the coronavirus is an issue. We know that economically it put the whole world on its back. But people of Cuba want their freedom, and they finally feel bold enough to protest in the streets in front of this brutal regime.
Yeah, chanting freedom, calling for the president to step down. They have a surge in the coronavirus cases, a shortage of just basic goods, things that we all might take for granted. They can't.
Bro, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Fox News talking about a shortage of goods in Cuba. How quickly do you think they will justify the embargo as a necessity, you think?
Get in their country.
Well, like food. They need food, and they're hacked off about it. And that's why thousands went out in the streets yesterday. You never see this kind of dissent because it's always limited. And it's interesting because the communists did allow the dissent to go on for a couple of hours. On Twitter, there's some video of protesters turning over a police car. Looks like the United States. Another video.
He's not dead or anything. He's just like passed out.
Looting from a government-run store. And here's the thing. We hear about, oh, the government-run store. Everybody gets everything they want. The government-run store sells wildly overpriced stuff with currencies that most Cubans marching there in the streets of Havana don't own.
And Brian, you're friends with the mayor of Miami. You've talked to him. You've interviewed him. And he's been tweeting about this, and he's been speaking out about it. Here's something he had to say.
That's kind of weird that they're no longer having a fucking pro-cop take here. That's so strange. Like, I wonder, wait, that's weird. When black people do this in America, they're like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? But when the Cuban people do it in Cuba, you're like, oh, dude, this is so sick. This is poggers. I love this, dude. Please. No law, no order, please.
The regime must end now. It is not negotiable. We asked for an internal.
Okay, dude. Like, you know, I get it. You recovered from COVID, but like, way too jacked, okay? You guys know how I feel about this. Like, Gavin Newsom, too hot. You can't be, like, jacked and hot and be a politician. It's just like fucking, it's not. Something about that is so off. I love the Miami mayor calling for regime change in Cuba, though. That's America, baby.
International intervention led by the United States to protect the Cuban people from a bloodbath.
Dude, what a psycho. Dude, I hear shit like this, and I'm like, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? That's so insane, dude. You're a fucking piece of shit, dog. You are such a piece of shit. To have no shame. And openly call for a coup d'etat led by the United States, like a military intervention is just nuts to me.
Cubans are worthy and ready to rule themselves without tyranny. It can end today, and it must end today. The implications of this moment can mean freedom for millions of people in this hemisphere, from Nicaraguans to Venezuelans and so many more.
The question is, how do we get involved? Do we just sit there and cheer from the sidelines? Jake Sullivan came out and tweeted out the U.S.
Bro, you got to give me something more than a fucking cop yelling at a protester. If you're going to launch the argument that, like, this is brutal, this is literally, like, this is the least violent cop altercation I have seen since the beginning of 2020. Like,
U.S. supports
like
freedom.
Show me the fucking tear gas. Show me the rubber bullets, like, that are taking out the eyes of Cuban protesters, and then we'll start talking.
Expression, assembly across Cuba would strongly condemn any violence or targeting of peaceful protesters. But I mean, we obviously been burned before trying to help out that sense of freedom that existed for.
Police brutality needs to happen to justify these people protesting? No, absolutely not. I already said that the protests are justifiable. They don't have fucking food, dude. They want food. There's nothing more normal to be like, we want the government to give us fucking food and medical supplies. I already said that it's justifiable. I'm just stating that the Miami mayor saying we need to invade Cuba is the most psychotic, unjustifiable, insane shit I've ever heard. It's like showing fucking, you know, the Unite the Right rally or something, and then being like, all right, it's time for China to invade this country.
Generations in Cuba. Teddy Roosevelt fought there, obviously, and for a while, they were going to have a free, and the mob actually had a huge presence there for a while. they were going to be a free Cuba. They were walking with American flags yesterday. We are an inspiration. We should be embracing the inspiration we give them.
Listen, here's the thing. Cuba is 90 miles away from Florida.
It blows my mind when a single cop can like dive into the crowd with a fucking baton though. Like, how are they not like jumping on top of him? In America, that never happens. Like, you literally come in with a massive single file line and like beat people evenly like a fucking Roman legion. You know what I mean? Like, they roll up like the turtle with the turtle fucking technique, like a bunch of legionnaires, and like start fucking clapping fools.
Florida. Florida is wide open. You want to see, freedom? Go to Florida. And these people would like to have in Cuba what they've got in Florida. And that is why the protests.
I mean, it's true. Yes. These people would like to have in Cuba what they have in Florida, which is like no embargoes. Okay? Like access to modern equipment and shit because of no embargoes. So yeah, you're right. They do. And they want it to be in they want that to be in Cuba. They want that freedom in Cuba.
Yesterday were some of the biggest they've had in that country since 1994, which is when people started floating away from Cuba on boats.
And rafts.
Some have suggested these are the biggest protests since 1959 when the Castros came into power. But what's interesting, our federal government, rather than saying, you know what, they just want freedom, they've got an interesting take on it. Julie Cheng, who is the State Department acting assistant secretary, said peaceful protests.
Yeah, they want Cuba to be like Florida, a place where like a Florida courthouse had to shut down because in the aftermath of the other building that fucking pancaked and collapsed, they realized that a bunch of fucking buildings in Florida were also not up to code. You know, that kind of situation. Everyone would benefit more from being like Florida. Just the most psychotic libertarian paradise.
That flies in the face of turning over the police car and the looting. Peaceful protests are growing in Cuba as the Cuban people exercise their right to peaceful assembly to express, here's the good part, concern about rising COVID cases, the deaths, and medicine shortages. We commend the numerous efforts of the Cuban people mobilizing donations to help neighbors in need. So what they're saying is people are angry about COVID, which, wait a minute, how many times have you heard that people say, you know, the great thing about socialized medicine, particularly in Cuba, is everybody's got great health care? Well, that's not the case down in Cuba, and coronavirus cases are surging.
Well, and one of the protesters said,
wait, dude, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Since January, COVID has started skyrocketing in Cuba, and it is bad now. But up until fucking January, COVID cases in Cuba were minuscule, dude. It was literally nothing.
So we're going through really difficult times and we need a change of system. So it's not about COVID. It's about the socialist regime. It's about communism. And they can't even get food for their families.
I mean, their cop cars are Etzels. I mean, they haven't modernized anything since the Western presidents left. They have a huge potential there just with tourism alone, should they ever open up their doors and overthrow this communist. But the problem is China's got a presence there, and the problem is Russia's got a presence there. Are they going to let...
Yeah, these other communist nations like communist Russia, dude.
This sphere of influence go by the boards? Dan Crenshaw sees opportunity and is
unacceptable, the situation in Cuba. They just don't have access to food and medicine. And that's really unacceptable. I wonder why. Oh, because communism. That's why they don't have that. Nothing else. Please don't look at anything else. Perhaps there is something else that's going on in Cuba with respect to, amenities and goods that they can have access to. Nothing. Just don't think about it, dude.
Or dismayed.
No, they're chanting libertad. They're chanting libtards. They're all hogs, brother. They're chanting libtards out.
I should say about that lack of convicted and direct tweet from the New York Times and others says, no, they're not chanting. No, they are chanting libertard, which means liberty. Stop.
He said libertard.
Stop playing cover for communists and support the Cuban people. My God, why is this so hard for you?
Marco Rubio's family from Cuba, he sees it exactly as it is. Listen.
It's now been over 12 hours since over 32 cities in Cuba, brave people have taken to the streets to protest against communist, Marxist, evil tyranny. And so far, not a word, not a statement from Joe Biden, from the vice president, from the White House, not a word. Why are they so uncomfortable coming forward and just condemning this evil socialist Marxist regime? It's been 62 years while these people have been out there suffering. And then I see this tweet here.
Dude, he's so wet. He's the most moist motherfucker on the planet, dude. I swear to God. Like, the funniest thing that Donald Trump ever said was talk about how little Marco is always sweating. Okay? Just the most moist motherfucker in America. Doesn't matter. It's not just a Florida thing. He is just a moist dude. What is Biden supposed to say? Tomorrow we're going to nuke Cuba and turn it into a capitalist democracy? Even then, they would be like, why wasn't it yesterday? You know what I mean? Why didn't you nuke Cuba yesterday and sink the island? Like, there's nothing that Joe Biden could say that would that Marco Rubio would agree with. Especially when Joe Biden is saying exactly the same things that Marco Rubio is saying with respect to Cuba. This is the same energy. This is the same energy with, like, Joe Biden is not supporting Israel hard enough, as Israel was like mowing the lawn in the Gaza Strip, you know? It's like, what is he supposed to do? Just murder a fucking Palestinian child on camera? Is he supposed to do a fucking, beheading? Is that when Joe Biden will demonstrate his full unconditional support to Israel? Like, is that what you expect from him? Like, I don't get it.
This began well before COVID. These people are frustrated. They want to live in a normal country. So why can't the State Department, why can't the White House just say it clearly? This is about freedom. Say it.
Well, as you've heard, some of the lawmakers are upset. They're speaking out about this. But Bernie Sanders, who a year ago praised...
The socialist?
Exactly. Praised Fidel Castro for what he's done for the kids and the education and the literacy program. But he's staying silent.
Bro, that's literally what... Oh, God. Why aren't they attacking Barack Obama and Joe Biden, who said the exact same things that Bernie Sanders said about the many benefits of the Castro regime with respect to education and healthcare, and access to education and access to healthcare in general? I mean, it's the truth. Like, I don't understand. How can you fucking sit here and criticize, like, improving the literacy rate, dude? These people are such psychopaths, dude. I mean, I know why, because they don't want you to fucking read, but, you know.
And it's making a lot of people upset.
Right, and we haven't heard from Joe Biden yet either, but we have heard from the New York Times. They tweeted this out, shouting freedom and other anti-government slogans. So freedom is an anti.
New York Times, by the way. It is very suspicious when the New York Times, which is supposed to be this like liberal outlet, is saying exactly the same things that conservatives are saying with respect to America's foreign adversaries and ideological enemies, dude. So weird. So strange. So strange if the New York Times is supposed to be a bunch of libtards and communists to have the exact same takeaway.
Anti-government slogan. Hundreds of Cubans took to the streets in the cities around the country on Sunday to protest food and medicine shortages. That's all true. In a remarkable eruption of discontent not seen in nearly 30 years. So they say that freedom is an anti-government slogan, but they do not say what the State Department did, which is it's keyed to.
Dude, there is perhaps no better instance of irony that these fucking animals over at Fox News wagging their fucking fingers at the Cuban government for not being able to provide vaccines to their citizens, as like the rest of the fucking content from Fox News for the day is going to be about how vaccines make you autistic and homosexual. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Shouldn't they be celebrating that Cuba is like free of the dangers of 5G coronavirus vaccines? Are you fucking nuts? They literally will be like, and now, next up, vaccines. Do they make you gay? Or was I gay beforehand? Why do dicks taste delicious? Find out more. I'm Brian Kilmeade. Now we have a measles outbreak in LA County as if we don't have enough problems. If not vaccinated your kid, only impacted your kid, fine, but that's not the case. Vaccinate your kids or stay home. Wait, what? Oh, it's 2019. Oh my fucking God. Now she has a different tone? When Biden's vaccine patrol comes a knocking, they can kiss my country ass, take your experimental vaccine and shove it in your own arms.